Our church's ministry and mission has never been more needed. Meeting online or in church for prayer services, fellowship, loving our neighbours by offering practical support to the vulnerable, and caring for our communities. The work of our church is reliant on people's generosity, and we are so grateful for all the gifts we receive. This generosity is a hallmark of a lived-out faith and a testament to it. If you're able to give to us now, here's how you can help.
presence of the Lord, the Holy One is here. Come bow before Him now with reverence and fear. In Him no sin is found. We stand on holy ground. Be still for the presence of the Lord, the Holy One is here. Be still for the glory of the Lord is shining all around. He burns with holy fire, with splendor He is crowned. How awesome is the sight, our radiant King of light. Be still for the glory of the Lord is shining all around. Be still for the power of the Lord is moving in this place. He comes to cleanse and heal, to minister His grace. No work too hard for Him. In faith receive from Him. Be still for the power of the Lord is moving in this place.
everyone. Well, today we are continuing with our series as we think about prayer and how to pray. Following our 4 letters. P for pause, R for rejoice, A for ask, and now Y for yield. Now, yield is a bit of an unusual word. It often makes me think of duels in medieval period dramas. Two characters will square off, and when one is defeated, the victor says, "Do you yield?" And the loser says, "Yes, I yield, I yield." Now, the word yield means to give up control or surrender. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's been a fight, but it does mean allowing someone else to take control. And this is the final step to explore in our prayer lives. Yielding control of our prayers and our lives to God. Another why that works in this situation is yes. It's saying yes to God's will for our lives. Now, saying yes to God in prayer takes different forms, and we're going to explore 4 of those in the coming weeks. We're going to look at listening in prayer. We're going to look at confession and reconciliation in prayer. We're going to look at spiritual warfare. But today we're going to look at contemplation. In particular, we're looking at praying without words. Now, there's always a danger in prayer that it becomes a one-way thing. We kind of barrage God with a constant stream of words. Good words, words of praise, words of intercession for others, words of deep faith and longing. But we are the ones that are constantly talking. And when we do that, when we're the ones who are constantly talking, we're always driving the agenda. We're the ones in control. Now, contemplation is a way of praying where we give up control by giving up words. Simply, it is praying in silence. Now, by this, I don't mean just praying silently in our heads, just not saying the words out loud. No, I mean proper silence. We turn off the internal dialogue in our minds and we just be. Now, we're going to think in a minute about how we can do this, but I just want to think briefly about the reasons why it's good to pray without words sometimes. The first is that point about giving up control. It's an act of trust in God, to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to lay down our weapons, so to speak. We allow God to set the agenda. We allow God to be in control by giving up our means of control, which is our words. And the second is that there is more to prayer than talking. The purpose ultimately of prayer is not that we have a conversation with God, but that we connect with God. And when we pray without words, it takes us past our conscious thoughts and connects us in a deeper, harder to access place within us. Let's look again at our reading from Romans chapter 8. Paul says, "We do not know for what we ought to pray, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. And he who searches our hearts knows the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for God's people in accordance with the will of God." Contemplation is about making ourselves available for this deeper connection. And to do that, we have to move beyond words. Perhaps it's helpful to think about it like this. Think about a time that you went to the cinema or to the theatre or read a book and you saw something that totally absorbed you. So think about a film that totally absorbed you. I can remember 2 times that really stand out in my mind this happened. When I went to see The Lord of the Rings for the first time, and when I saw Inception. And all those times, what happens is I got so totally caught up in the story, the characters, the world in which they were in, that I kind of lost track of where I was. And I remember at the end of those films, almost like when they finished, it was like I was transported back to the real world where I was in the cinema. But if you think about that kind of experience, and I hope you've had that kind of experience in some way in your life. But when you think about it, when the movie starts, you're kind of conscious of what's going on around you, aren't you? You know, you notice people moving around, and you notice the rustle of popcorn and the slurping of drinks, and you kind of shuffle around in your seat. And when the film starts, you have to consciously focus your attention on the screen. But as the film gets going, well, you start to get more absorbed into it. You stop noticing the little noises around you. You get drawn into the story. You start caring about the characters. You forget that they're just actors reading a script. You start to enter into that world. And then when you're in that world, it starts to affect you. It starts to affect your emotions, and it occupies all your senses. And if a film is truly great, you can be completely lost in it. You can be so lost in the film to the point where you are living more in the world of the film than you are living your own life, which at that moment is just you sitting in the cinema. Contemplative prayer can be like this. It can be totally consuming. It can take you beyond yourself, almost like you're going into a different world. And Pete Greig uses this metaphor of the film to show us the steps of what prayer without words looks like. Well, the first step is meditation. Now, this is like the moment when you're sat in the cinema before the film starts. You know, you're still living in your own world at this point. You're conscious of what's going on around you. Your senses are picking up everything that's going on. You're aware of where you are in your surroundings. And meditation is a way to move ourselves outside of that headspace. It's a bit like pausing, the way we thought about pausing a few weeks ago. We need to settle ourselves. We need to breathe slowly, and we need to push out distractions. And it sometimes helps to have something to focus on at this point, to push the distractions out. So maybe a Bible verse that we just poring over, reading over and over again in our minds, or sometimes a picture, looking at a picture or a painting, or an object. It could be something that's sort of spiritual, like a cross. Equally, it could just be looking at a plant, or a mug, or just anything, focusing intently on that thing as we breathe slowly. This is a form of meditation. I find that looking out over the city from our bedroom window is really, really helpful for driving out the distraction and focusing and paying attention and meditating. And what happens is, as we do this, without really noticing it, we begin to notice a shift where the focus has moved away from ourselves and where we are in our surroundings, and it's moving towards God. The centre of gravity in the moment shifts. It's quite hard to describe, but it's like the movie when our attention is taken somewhere else, when we're drawn in and something else takes control of where we are. And when this happens, we become aware of the presence of God in a really deep way, a way that is beyond words. And at this point, there really is nothing we can do, or nothing we should do, other than just be there and allow God's love to surround us and be in us. This is praying, but we're not doing anything. We've given over control to God. We've yielded. This is contemplation. We're contemplating God. Our attention is so focused on God. We're paying attention. And sometimes this experience can be so totally intense and consuming that we completely lose ourselves. We completely forget where we are, who we are, what's happening, what day it is. And this is a moment that some spiritual teachers describe as communion with God, where we connect so closely with God that we completely lose ourselves. The great desert monk, St. Anthony of Egypt, described this by saying, perfect prayer is to not know that you are praying at all. Now, I'm aware that some of this might have sounded a bit airy-fairy, a bit mystical, a bit strange. Or you might be thinking, okay, well, this sounds really nice. It sounds like a really nice experience. But how does this really change anything? How does this change the world? Well, think about this. Think about an amazing film you've seen, one that has really affected you. Usually, it will change you in some way. It will change the way that you see things. Sometimes it can really fundamentally change you. And we know this, don't you, that people's lives are changed by a piece of art or cinema or music. In our house, we really love the musical Hamilton. We've not seen it live or anything, but we've seen it on Disney Plus, and we've really, really enjoyed it. It's a brilliant piece of art, a piece of theatre and music that sucks you in, and you really feel what the characters feel through the songs and the acting, and lots of people have come away from watching Hamilton really affected by it. And I was reading a story recently about someone who was deeply depressed and was contemplating suicide, and they listened to Hamilton. They put the songs on their phone, and they were listening to it. And Hamilton explores lots of the themes of life and death and reasons for living and all that kind of stuff. And there's a line in one of the songs where George Washington says to Hamilton, he says, "Dying is easy, young man. Living is harder." And listening to this shifted something in this person. In the way that they saw life and death, something changed, and it saved her life. And this is something that can only really happen through that deep connection that we sometimes get through a really amazing piece of art. Someone could have said that to her in a conversation, but I suspect it wouldn't have had the same effect. Well, in the same way, contemplation changes the world by changing us, the way we are, the way we see things. When we contemplate God, when we meet with God in that way where He is in control of our moment of prayer, we are changed, we are affected, we are transformed into the likeness of Christ. And then we start to see things the way He does too. Contemplation is a form of prayer that makes us more prayerful when we are not praying. It helps us to respond to the needs of the world naturally, in the moment, rather than storing things up until our next prayer time, or storing them up until Sunday when we pray for them. Now, contemplation takes a bit of practice. and there is lots of guidance out there to help. There are books and courses and retreats and spiritual directors and even apps for your phone that can help. But it's also something that is just worth having a go at. Silence is something that you just need to have a go at and practice, and it feels strange, and the giving up of control is something that we naturally don't want to do. So we do have to make ourselves do it, at least at the beginning. So I encourage you this week to have a go. Just have a go at this by finding somewhere quiet, somewhere where you can be silent, and then be silent. Be silent. Find something to focus on and drive out all the voices and turn everything off. Turn your phone off, turn off the TV, and try and be silent. And then, of course, within that, be open to God meeting you. This is the turn up, shut up, and look up method. Okay? Just go there. Just turn up. Be open. And be quiet and see what happens. In fact, I think let's have a go at this right now. Okay, shall we? Let's just be silent for a minute, just a minute, and we'll see how it feels and we'll see what happens. So all I'm going to do is just turn the camera off so you can't see me, and we will just be completely silent and try and not to focus on any ambient sounds around you. Just try and focus on something, just an object or something in the church, or close your eyes and we will just be silent and we will see how it feels. So let's be silent. Amen. Amen. Well, I'm going to hand back to Anne now as she carries on with the service, but I will see you all really soon. Bye.
When the music fades, when all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's of worth, that will bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. King of endless world, no one could express how much you deserve. Though I'm weak and poor, all I have is yours, every single breath. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, through the way things appear. You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. All about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it, when it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. All about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it, when it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. tell, not even in part, of the debt of love that is owed by this thankful heart. You deserve my every breath, for you paid the great cost, giving up your life to death, even death on a cross. You took all my shame away, that defeated my sin, opened up the gates of heaven, and have beckoned me in. Jesus, what can I give? What can I bring to so faithful a friend, to so loving a King? Savior, what can be said? What can be sung as a praise of your name for the things you have done? Oh, my words could not tell, not even in part, of the debt of love that is owed by this thankful heart. What can I give? What can I bring? What can I sing as an offering, Lord? What can I give? What can I bring? What can I sing as an offering, Lord? I will offer up my life in spirit and truth, pouring out the oil of love as my worship to you. In surrender I must give my every part. Lord, receive the sacrifice of a broken heart. Jesus, what can I give? What can I bring to so faithful a friend, to so loving a King? Savior, what can be said? What can be sung as a praise of your name for the things you have done? Oh, my words could not tell,